So we just did some investigating with auditor control. And, we have a couple of trust accounts that we can leverage, ensure that that stays. We're also working with DEO and DMH on a shared cost. We submitted all the square footage. We've got agreements from both departments that they will pay shared costs, and so that information goes to ISD. ISD will bill them, and then that will offset our building costs. We're also looking to have a event on Veterans Day called Vet LA. Our chief deputy, Stephanie Stone, is planning that. It's a parade starting at the Coliseum, and we'll come up to Bob Hope and end at the front of Bob Hope. She's currently planning that and spending a lot of time getting folks on board to make that a really good event. Website. So we currently have $43,000 in account with CIO that we're looking to find out if we can get that money and use the Homeless Emergency Authority for contracting to contract that money out to redo our website. So we're looking into that right now. And lastly, an update on our South Korean allies. We've been in correspondence. Representative Takano passed a bill allowing access for them to get a VA ID card and also receive services from the VA. Very exciting, great timing. However, we're looking at doing probably an event to honor them later in the year, and then engaging with Supervisor Mitchell's office to see if they would attend as well and honor them, given that 500 live in SD2 out of the 2,000 that live in the country. So that's it for director reports. I got a little bit of time for any questions.
Any questions for Director Vice?
Thank you. Thank you very much for that informative report. I did want to ask, when it comes to marketing these town halls, is there an attempt to reach out to the supervisory district's staff and ensure that that information is being provided to the cities so that they can also market that as well?
Great question. So I spoke to our deputy at SD4, Ms. Phoebe Liu, and she did share that information within her office to get that information disseminated to the cities. So that's what was shared with me. And then also with the relationships with the DSOs in her district, she also reported that that information went out to them as well. But that's something that we're continuing going to be asking the board offices for their assistance.
Okay, I have a question. So you mentioned the document for the DPSS, right? That's going to be now at those DPSS offices in order for them to be sent here, the veterans to be sent here in order to be processed. When has that started, or when did it start? And how long is that process from the moment that they're signed up at DPSS to the moment that they're connected with your VSOs here?
Yeah, so the program precedes my time. So it's been since before I was appointed in the department. I was first made aware of the program about 3 or 4 years ago while I was with the Department of Mental Health. I'm not sure when it started. We'd have to get that information, get it back to you. As far as how long it takes, because we were so understaffed for so long, we have not really put a lot of focus on that when we can, so we don't have any data on that. But what we're moving towards is allocating 2 specific staff to be co-located in the El Monte location for the DPSS office, because it's just the most central that we could find in partnership with DPSS. And so all day they would be processing those MCO5s, reaching out to veterans, trying to bring them in. Our goal is to reach out to them as soon as we get the MCO5s within a day or 2. When we get MCO5s, we get about 9. Last batch was about 19, but we get as many as 40 at a time. And so, we could probably outreach 20 to 40 individuals within a day or 2. But the ongoing outreach, as we kind of build it out, I vision that it would be not just a one and done. We would continue to outreach, develop some kind of protocol.
Right, so I'm just gonna mention this, I'm gonna go on record saying this, is that I continue to hear from veterans, that there has been. The best word I can use of is discrimination when a veteran asks for help, when a veteran's going in and asking for. Food stamps or for aid, they are not looked at as veterans. They're also told that their money, if they're service connected, that they're not eligible for food stamps and that their kids are not eligible for food stamps. So that's happened here at the one on Grand, at the DPSS there, and then the other one was the North LA DPSS. So I just want you to be aware that there has, and I don't know if it's because they're women, they're going in and asking for help, and again, their service is being questioned. But I really would like there to be more focus and more attention on this, because veterans need food stamps, and your kids don't choose to be your children, right? And so, or to be a veteran, so those services should be available, and they should be able to be signed up without being treated like they're criminals or like they're trying to work the system. So I just wanted to let you know, I've had 2 veterans in the last 3 months tell me how they were treated at the DPSS office when they were asked for help. So I just wanted to say that. So I'm going to move on to something else, because that's kind of sad, and we can talk about it more afterwards.
Well, I just want to clarify real quick, 2 and 3. I heard that correctly.
Yeah, 2 in the last 3 months, right? As far as the readers, one of the instances, because I get to work here, I get to see people who are looking and needing services, and I have no problem escorting someone to the 2nd floor or escorting them next door to JVS when they come into the US Vets office. But what I think would be really helpful is, in addition to having readers, maybe having a menus, like, when you go into the doctor's office and you're trying to find which floor your doctor's on, maybe we can have something like that saying, okay, this is JVS, or here's MBA, or here's, so that they can look at something and say, okay, this is the floor I need to go to. So I just wanted to mention that in addition to our greeters. Okay, so we're going to have the first class from Trade Tech coming and starting in November. How long is that program for? And is that are we going to benefit? Like, are they going to be providing breakfasts? Are they going to be selling, what are they going to be doing while they're here, and how are they working? Are they just using the space, or are they going to be applying their skills with our groups here?
Yeah, I think we're still working out the details. But we also engaged with a few other organizations. We've reached out to Homeboys Industry to learn about their model. We reached out to Mama's Hot Tamales, Mama's Tamales, to research their model. So what we're looking for is really an entity to come in that's veteran owned or veteran centric, that is making food all the time and available to potentially sell food, cater events that organizations, when organizations throw events in here, things like that. So we're trying to be more expansive than what we've had in the past. But the one thing I know for sure is we are set to have that first class in November, as we're kind of looking at a more expansive provider.
Right, those are all my questions.
Yes, sir.
One question, Crooks. Kiosk. Did they ever get that thing working?
Which one?
There's a kiosk downstairs, shoot that they brought, which when she mentioned about the signage, there was actually, I don't remember how many years ago. 3 or 4 years ago, county was supposed to put a kiosk, and it was gonna be down here for this building, because this building was considered a one-stop shop. And you could go to the kiosk, and what you needed, you could punch in, and it would tell you where to go within the building.
Mhm.
Which would save you a lot of staff time, a lot of other things, but I don't know if they ever really, they put it up, and every time I looked, it was always down. They couldn't really get it to work, so that may be an option. You can see if they can ever get that thing working. It will save you a whole lot of staff time.
Yeah, so what we're looking at is actually having a couple of tablets at that front desk, similar to the kiosk. The kiosk is not working, and it would be too costly to get it running versus just getting a couple of tablets. So the idea is to have a couple of staff initially, but we want to really get a core of, so we're looking at software around volunteers to automate that process, to not have it eat up a lot of our staff's time. It's actually where you can basically sign up and apply to be a volunteer. It automatically kicks out applications, all that kind of stuff. And then you can also choose different shifts as volunteers to automate as much of the process as possible. But we want to make it really a human connection. We don't want just a kiosk. We want humans actually greeting folks at the door and really providing it as warm greeting as possible. And then we just realized that we have a lot of older vets or a lot of vets that are 100% service connected that really need something to do. And so we feel like that would be really, eventually get to that point where we're providing that opportunity that would benefit them as well as the veterans.
So that was my next observation. Having someone down there, because veterans population is getting older and older.
Mhm.
And there's some of them that are not going to be able to go through anything like trust. Yeah, and having someone to tell them, you need to do this and do that, that goes a long way. Thank you, sir.
Any other chairman? Any other? Oh, sorry.
Real quick, we do have a question from a deputy regarding when he has a question regarding when was the last time we spent money on the website? Was it recent? Has there been recent spending on the website or?
Yeah, the website redesign, the most recent website redesign was done shortly before I came on board, August of last year. Since then, there's been a little bit of money spent to update it to be able to start posting through WordPress, posting our agenda, our commission agenda. The commission really wanted us to post the minutes, post everything on our website, so it's kind of a living, the public can access it at any time. And so that was a little bit of money, but as far as the design of the actual website, there's been no major changes to the website since prior to August.
If I could just add to that, because during my role as chair previously, I tried to force a lot of updates to the website, and there was just a lot of formatting issues. So I think it's worthwhile to look into just a complete revamp from the ground up. I think that website has a lot of limitations. And as a commission, because we've been more active in recent years, I think that there's going to be a need for more modifications. But, because I'd worked with the previous communications director, and there was just some things we just can't do in terms of getting our information, the work that this commission does out to the public. And I'm sure it's the same thing for the department. So, I heard that, I wrote in my notes, I think that that's a worthwhile investment. Absolutely.
Yeah, and really what we're trying to do with that is really integrate, all the different services that different departments do. Like right now, the format of the website doesn't really allow for that in a user-friendly way. And we've done some outreach to departments. We've learned that Parks and Rec, Beaches and Harbor, they offer huge discounts for veterans. We want to make sure that their stuff is integrated into the website. DMH and DHS both have programs for veterans. We want to make sure that that's integrated on the website. We just want to do a better job of integrating, making it more user-friendly and make it easier on our staff to post all the information from the commission.
I would just add, if you look at the difference between MDA's website and the Department of Economic Opportunity, it's night and day. LA County's Department of Economic Opportunity. We really need to be at that level in terms of communicating, especially to, my opinion, with the veterans orientations and getting recently discharged veterans into our family, so to speak. We had to communicate much better. And right now, I don't think the current website cuts it. Can I just add a few more things here? I just wanted to congratulate the department on staffing. That's a big deal, right? The fact that you've been able to staff so quickly and using the emergency authority. I know some of the new hires, and I think, they're fantastic. I'm sure the others are the same. I wanted to ask a quick question about the trust fund. In addition to whether or not those are interest-bearing accounts, are there trustees? I don't understand how that works within a county apparatus.
Yeah, we haven't done a whole lot of research on that, other than just that it'll meet the needs of our work. That would require some more research on my end.
Yeah.
Or maybe having somebody from auditor control come and present for the commission, whatever the commission. If you guys let me know, if the chair lets me know what route you want me to take. Do more research and reach out. See.
I think that's worthwhile. I mean, if there's roughly $43,000 in one account, and I don't know, maybe
A couple thousand in one, I think it's 47,000 in the damage property and the security deposit fund, and then there's like 2,000 in the more general fund
Mhm.
that we would use for revenue. That we bring in. So
well, one thing I would add, just in terms of fundraising for that account, is that seems to be like a discretionary fund, right?
Mhm.
Is, maybe doing some Bob Hope swag, like, for example, a property of Bob Hope sweater, t-shirt, tank top, it's hot right now. I mean, I would, give money and get the shirt and help raise money for the Friends Bob Hope.
happy to look into it.
I will.
No, I would love that too, but I've mentioned a couple of times to the director that, why don't we have a vending machine? Like, we walk all the way to like Chevron. Why don't we have a vending machine? And then we can have a vending machine that sells the t-shirts. So anyway, I'm just thinking about these other things. Soda first, then the t-shirts.
Director, one structural question about events for non-veteran specific organizations, if they're going to make the building available. Their liability is alcohol served, and our liability. We've all come out of the West LA thing where they were renting out tennis courts, the baseball diamond and everything like that. Just what do we do on the policy basis?
Yeah, so the event would be a one-time event, wouldn't be more than 24 hours. When we rent it out, there is a process to where the form that they have to fill out, basically, there's an
Indemnifying.
yes, thank you. Piece in there, so they can bring in alcohol if they want. But yeah, it's not an ongoing lease or anything like that. That's separate. That would be our tenant agreements, and we are looking to engage current tenants because all tenant agreements have been expired. And so we have no active tenant agreements right now. So that's another thing we've been working with CEO Real Estate on, is getting to the point where we can start engaging our tenants to renegotiate a tenant agreement. But nobody's being charged at this point, except for Department of Health and DEO for the share costs.
Was that because of the COVID limitations, like no evictions that fell under that?
No, the department traditionally did not get any reimbursement from county or non-county entities. And so we just.
Here, nobody pays rent here.
And so that's part of the reason why we had budgetary, just to be transparent with the commission.
Traditionally, they've required anyone that serves alcohol to get a temporary 24-hour permit from, was it alcohol to put the alcohol people? That's normal.
Yeah.
And therefore they sign a thing, acceptance liability, making sure that happens.
Sorry,
One more question.
maybe I'm confused.
Okay.
Sorry about that. So I think there's a difference between, short-term rental,
Mhm.
and I think that was your question regarding alcohol policy.
Yeah, well, it was just a liability and indemnification for event. That's really what.
My follow-up question was with regard to permanent tenants here, long-term space.
And
Nobody's paying rent.
The county has a policy, no alcohol on a normal basis. However, if this group wanted to have an event here at Patriotic Hall,
Right.
we would have to ask for a permit for 24, but one day, I think it is,
Mhm.
to have that event to be able to serve alcohol. And of course, we have to sign all the insurance things, accepting all the liability and everything else.
Right, but I was talking about a separate issue though, with respect to the current tenants,
The current tenants cannot serve.
not alcohol, just
That's.
separate
that's
issue.
in the- There's no leases in. Actually, they're not quote leases, whatever. I'm gonna call, I need to call. But
We call it, so with US Feds, it's called a tenant agreement, or
Yeah.
other nonprofit serving nonprofits. For departments, it's called share costs, and there's a procedure that the company goes through to get share costs from other departments for space. So that's the differentiation.
I mean, without knowing all the details, it seems like that's a burden on the department, right? I mean, if there are other tenants in this building, there is wear and tear. There are people coming through, if things happen, just routine building maintenance, that falls on the department. That seems,
Traditionally up until now, yes.
yes,
does that seem right to you guys? I mean, personally, I don't think I think there could be a better way.
Well, we can get more details. We can get more details about this. What we get.
It's gonna start happening in July, so we currently are charging technically. We just need to sign the paperwork. And then US Feds is not paying rent, and we are going to engage them in conversation of a new tenant agreement, which could potentially include paying rent.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's great that the other county departments are gonna pay their fair share. I think the question becomes the other tenant agreements, right?
one, two,
Make it quick. Let's make it
real
quick.
quick. You said you had your trust fund. Does this include in case anybody wants to film here, where the money would go directly to the department and not back to the department? Yeah, what do you call it, fund?
Yeah, so there's a separate, for county buildings, there's a separate process for anybody that films, like in the Hollywood industry. And so that money does not go to us. And that-
See now, the museum has their foundation where when they film, any filming stays at the department. And I thought they had done that here also.
No, currently there's a more centralized process that we have to.
We'll talk about it.
All right, thank you, Director. You know, we're sorry we kept you so long. Okay, next slide. I know we've got a brief from Legislative Affairs.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, Chair Zito and Commissioners. My name is Jonathan Kraus. I'm with the Legislative Affairs and Intergovernmental Relations branch with the CEO's office for the county. Thank you very much for the opportunity and invitation to provide this briefing. I'm also joined virtually today by my counterpart in Sacramento, Mark Segra. Mark is with us as well. You hear us, Mark?
I can hear you guys. Thank you for having me.
I wanted to take a few minutes today to share with you a brief overview of legislative affairs and governmental relations, what our office does, and highlight some of the bills that we are tracking this year of particular interest regarding veterans. First, wanted to share with you that legislative affairs, our office is the focal point of coordination of state and federal legislative policy and strategy for the county. In consultation with the Board of Supervisors and county departments, our office develops the county's legislative priorities and policies for consideration by the board. Based on these policies and the board's ongoing guidance, the office works with departments, including Director Zenner, who work with very closely, and other county stakeholders to identify, analyze, and take advocacy positions on state and federal legislation and budget proposals. We have offices as well in Sacramento and Washington, D.C. So I'd like Mark will also share a little bit about what our Sacramento advocates do.
Sure, thank you, Jonathan. So our Sacramento office is comprised of 5 advocates and 2 support staff, whose day-to-day includes meeting with elected officials and key stakeholders to influence policy and budget discussions in a way that benefits the county. Just last week, the legislature adjourned for summer recess and will reconvene on August 14th, where they will have 1 month to finish business before they recess for the year. Additionally, the advocates in Sacramento are tasked with monitoring and attending legislative hearings and working in support for the county's legislative and funding priorities.
Share with you a few the veteran bills that we are advocating for, as well as some that we're watching this year in Sacramento. And be happy to answer any questions about any of these presentations. The first bill is Assembly Bill 1386. You see legislation, AB stands for Assembly Bill, meaning it was introduced to the State Assembly. SB stands for Senate Bill, meaning that it was used to the state by a state senator. The AB 1386 by Assemblymember Gabriel has to do with veterans housing and tenant referrals. Specifically would allow housing units funded by the Veterans Housing and Homelessness Prevention Program, or VHHP, or certain housing units supported by project-based vouchers to refer veterans at higher income level if units are unable to be filled by extremely low income veterans with an income at or below 30% of the area median income. So if they aren't able to find eligible tenants at the 30% AMI, that it would, after 28 days, they'd be able to open up those units to veterans earning up to 60% of the area median income. If that income threshold above 30% is derived due to disability benefits related to service. After an additional 14 days, if they're not able to find any eligible tenants in that category, they can also open up the VHH units to veterans experiencing homelessness if that have an income level up to 60% AMI, regardless of where that additional income comes from. So this was a bill that the county is supporting. Was the Board of Supervisors approved a motion on May 16th to support this bill. And I'll let Mark provide a brief update on the status of AB 1386.
Yeah, so AB 1386 has been moved through the legislative process with unanimous support. It's currently pending hearing in the Senate Appropriations Committee, which won't happen until around mid-August when members reconvene. The bill is currently supported by the California Association of Veterans Service Agencies, as well as the Los Angeles Homeless Services Authority. And lastly, also supported by the California Apartment Association. And one thing to note as well, that Assemblymember Gabriel is a Los Angeles County delegation member who represents the region around Woodland Hills.
Question. Simply Bill, specifically, what funds, is it federal or state, or is it a mixture of both that help to fund the housing?
So this, the Veterans Housing and Homelessness Prevention Program has dedicated funds. Mark, do you have that information stated?
I'm sorry, it's breaking up on my end. Is the question if this program is state or federally funded?
Yes, is it state, federal, or is it a mixture of both?
So, the Mental Health Services Act was enacted in 2014 through Prop 63, which provided funds to counties to expand services and develop innovative programs and integrate service plans for the mentally ill children, adults, and seniors through 1% income tax. I'm not exactly sure. I would have to follow up to see if this one is state or federally funded, but happy to follow up with you.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that this would apply specifically to just VHHP, is that correct?
Primarily, this bill focuses on the VHHP units. There are some provisions that also for other voucher-based units.
Which is with VHHP being a state administered program. So I think that the complication becomes in a lot of these housing developments, it's a mixture of funds, whether it's the state coming in with VHHP or the county or the city, but this gives the flexibility with regard to how these units are financed in order to ramp up eligibility. if a veteran who has a lower income is not referred. So just real quick, the question I had is, my understanding right now is after 28 days of vacancy for a particular unit, they could ramp up the AMI level, right? And then, but that would be specifically for veterans whose VA disability compensation is causing them to go over that AMI level.
Correct.
And then after 28 days, for a period of 14 days of eligibility, then any veteran, regardless of how their AMI is calculated, would be eligible for that unit. Is that right?
Correct, except for what they call the secondary, or so however their income is derived for
Right.
that second tier.
Right.
I believe they currently have to be experiencing homelessness.
Sure.
Also is the other criteria, but yeah, so it's up to the 60% AMI regardless of your income. Right.
So and I'm not sure if this is accurate, but I had heard that there was maybe an attempt, as opposed to making that particular unit, 60% AMI forever, that if a veteran were to leave that unit, it would reset back to the 30%. Has that made it its way into the legislation?
Yes, that is how the bill is currently, I believe, is once the unit becomes vacant,
It
the
resets.
clock, it resets.
Personally, I think that that's a really smart way of going about it. So, I'm glad that the county is supporting.
Let's, moving forward, let's wait till the end of the presentation for the rest of the questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. SB 783 by Senator Archuleta is a bill that would authorize the counties of Los Angeles and Nevada to create a veteran suicide prevention training pilot program to offer individuals in each county specialized training and certification in suicide prevention with military connected populations. And this was legislation that Senator Archuleta approached the county with, is interested in sponsoring. The bill originally included $100,000 in funding for this pilot program. But as Mark will share an update of some of the recent developments with this bill.
Yeah, so SB 783, when it was in the Senate Appropriations Committee, the funding was removed from the bill, which would help Los Angeles and Nevada County with $100,000 to support this pilot program. Otherwise, the bill had been supported unanimously by members. The bill is currently in the Assembly Military and Veterans Affairs Committee, where Senator Archuleta and his staff has been working with the committee to identify a new potential revenue source. This bill is a 2-year bill, meaning that further action cannot be taken until early next year.
The other way that the county can take an advocacy position on a bill is that there's existing legislative policies that the board has previously approved, and that the department provides us with a recommendation, and after review, that if there's existing policy that we can issue what's known as the advocacy pursuit to notify the board and take a position to support. And that's what we did with SB 783 due to the previously approved board policy, so that the county is on record in support of the bill as well. AB 718 by some members regarding veterans' mental health, and specifically would require the California Department of Veterans Affairs to establish a program to fund, upon authorization by the legislature, an academic study of mental health among women veterans in California. And the county is on record in support of this bill as well. We supported it last month on June 23rd. And Mark can provide an update on the status.
Yeah, so like AB 1386, this bill has been moving through the legislative process with unanimous support. And we'll have to wait for further action until mid-August, where it will be heard in the Assembly Appropriations Committee.
AB 46 by Assemblymember Ramos would exclude from gross income for state income tax purposes any retirement pay from the federal government for military service and annuity payments from the U.S. Department of Defense Survivor Benefit Plan. And California is one of the few states that doesn't currently provide any sort of exemption for military retirement pay or survivor benefits. So some of the Ramos's bill would provide that exemption in California. County's currently watching this bill. We've not taken a position. There's bills dealing with any sort of tax related matters, and it's a matter of board determination. So it require a board motion to take an advocacy position, but we are continuing to watch and monitor this bill and provide an update on the status.
So AB 46 has also received 0 no votes thus far. However, its biggest hurdle to date will be in the Senate Appropriations Committee. When it was heard in the Assembly Appropriations Committee, it had an estimated price tag of $85 million. So we'll see how conversations evolve over summer recess and see what the verdict is on AB 46 when members meet again in August.
Appropriation from the legislature provide a stipend to counties for the purposes of maintaining a county BSO at least part-time at each active U.S. military base in the county. We are currently watching this bill as well, just because it's not progressed at this point, but it's something that we are actively monitoring and providing data on the status of this bill as well.
So with AB 684 no longer moving forward this session, Assemblymember Ta or other members of the legislature are able to revisit this proposal next year. So they could use the fall recess to work out any issues and concerns that the legislature had this past year and come back with a newer version with better prospects. But we'll have to wait and see until next year when members are able to introduce bills again.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Jonathan. Thank you, Mark. Any questions for them right now? Sure. Commissioner Allman?
Just to clarify, AB 1386, SB 783, and AB 718, the county has taken an advocacy position for. You're pursuing that, correct? AB 46 and AB 86, 84, you're just monitoring, right? Just assessing situation.
Correct.
With regard to AB 46, the Senate appropriation estimate, 85 million, is that throughout the state of California, or is that specific to LA County?
That'd be statewide.
Okay. Is there an estimate for LA County? Do we know?
Not specifically, since it's income, since it would affect income taxes, so all of that would go to the state, and then it just affect overall
Allocation.
state budget allocations, so not specific revenue to the county.
As a follow-up question, the bill talks specifically about military retirement pay. How does VA, disability play into that? Is that considered income as well, as far as the state is concerned?
As far as for state income taxes, that's not addressed in this bill, and defer to other subject matter experts as far as how that's currently calculated. Sure, how that is considered.
Because at the federal level, it is exempt
Okay.
from federal taxes, and when you get VA disability, the question becomes: is at the state level, is that considered state exempt when it comes to state taxes, as far as whether or not you need to include that as your income? And it seems not rather odd that the federal government is saying, hey, your disability pay, which is given to you because of your condition, is not going to be taxed, but yet at the state level, oh, we don't care what your condition is. We don't care what you're getting, that pay, we're going to tax it anyway. Just seems a bit odd.
So I guess the difference would be, we're talking about DOD retirement pay versus VA disability compensation. So this is specific to military retirees. Their income is being taxed.
Right, but that's why I wanted to clarify that is the VA disability pay. Is that considered part of the retirement pay or not?
No.
Yeah, yeah. Correct. But this would
And I
just be-
suppose then maybe we ought to ask the question, I don't know, is disability pay being taxed?
Oh.
No.
No.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, thank you so much for your time, gentlemen.
Thank you.
All right, next we're going to move to the public comment period. We'll move to the public comment. All right, the first person we have is Mr. Ronald Martin. Is Mr. Ronald Martin present or online? All right, we'll see if he's, we can find him later, but I know that Mr. Morales is here. Sir, if you want to go ahead, we've got 3 minutes. Thank you, sir. When you start, I'll start the
I'm
timer.
going to be as quick as I can, and first of all, I owe you an apology, members of the commission, because I should have done this back in May or June. Because officially, on the first meeting of Los Angeles portion of Maria, it sits over there. The last and first of the tenants of this structure. At that official meeting, the members voted unanimously to endorse the national landmark status for this building. And this is very important because I've been involved with this building since the first time I walked in here with my dad was in 1956. And I came subsequent. I sat where you're sitting at one time. And Supervisor Kenny Hahn was my mentor. I'm not going to go into that, but I'm glad to see Hughes here. At the end of April, I underwent a procedure and I had to be careful with my lungs because I'm a cancer survivor from Agent Orange. I had to retire formally from every activity back in 2013 because they removed part of my stomach, I had stomach cancer. And then they found lung cancer in my left lung. And I just had a procedure in of April. And I'm glad to report that my doctor, Dr. Betancourt, the chief of pulmonary medicine at UCLA, and also the chief of pulmonary clinic at West LA VA, is been looking after me. And so is oncology and everybody else. But anyway, I hereby would like to respectfully request from the Department of Military Veterans Affairs Advisory Commission that you formally file and notify our elected officials, the 5 supervisors, and our chief executive, Keisha Campbell, to proceed with the process of requesting from the Secretary of the Interior, Department of Interior, National Landmark Commission to initiate the process of making this structure a national landmark. Now, you as commissioners can go directly to the National Landmark Commission and ask this. But we all are military men, and we must adhere to the chain of command. Your chain of command says you answer to the board of supervisors. So we should notify them and the chief executive. They're kind of already aware because I've talked to some people there. And Jim and I just confirmed when he was talking to him that he has also asked about it. We initiated this process back on our 90th birthday. More than that, we actually did in 1995 when we were doing the celebration of veterans with one of the previous directors, Joe Smith. Joe at that time, okay, Joe said, no, you can't do that because we have to fix the building. And once the building becomes a national landmark, you can't do anything else. I mean, you could fix it and repair it and do addition, but you can't do it for anything other than the purpose intended. This structure is the last remaining original Veterans Memorial Building governed under the William McKinley Act of 1898 under the U.S. Code Title 39 of the Veterans Administration, which is also part of the State of California Constitution, Article 1562, 8 paragraphs define the rights. And if the original tenants that were here are already gone, the supervisors can move on to not have a building. That's what's happened to every city in the United States that used to have a mobile building. They are now either museums or for other uses, because the tenants moved out when they were offered the VA grounds or some other facility. That post right there was the original post, one of 5 original tenants that came here before this building was even built. The chairman of the building commission, Buren Fitz, Lieutenant Governor of California, District Attorney of LA County, was the chairman of the building committee, a founding father of Post 8. So were 2 governors and 4 mayors. The last one was Richard Reardon. Michael Antonovich was a member of Post 8. I apologize for talking too long.
No worries,
Would
sir.
you like me to finish?
Sir, I'll give you 1 more minute, sir.
All right, so thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. So under that article, this building exists. When it was scheduled for demolition in the 1980s to build a parking structure here, we did our research and we found all the legal reasons why this building existed. Because back then there was only 2 remaining tenants and now there's only 1, that post. And that justifies why this building is still here. And all you have to do is read the California State Constitution or the US Second Amendment to tell you why things exist. I'm proud to say that Hugh Crooks was a part of that at that time as a member, commander of Post 8, commander of the district, commander of the state of the American Legion. So he would fill you in on that if there's any other questions. But other than that, you as commissioners have the right to ask for that. The process takes a minimum of 1 year to 1.5 years, because it has to be scheduled through the Congress. They have to send a team. The lady in charge was here and visited this building back in 1995 and gave us all the paperwork, everything. We were all set to go. And then we were told we couldn't. So now we have a good excuse, because 7 days from now, on the 26th of July, it's going to be an auspicious date. It was 100 years ago, July 26th, 1924. Right downstairs on the first floor, they had the groundbreaking of what used to be a church that stood here. We dedicated this building with a groundbreaking. So we will be 100 years old a year from now, 99 years old, having patriotic call. But this building, the last remaining building in the nation, is still here on active duty, because every city has a memorial hall. They just don't do what we're doing and what you're doing right here. And I know because during my recovery, because I went off the grid on doctor's orders to not get excited and get doing stuff, I went to my computers and started researching population, cities, 58 counties of LA County, who has buildings left. You're having a meeting in the last one left, and it deserves national recognition. Thank you very much. Oh, any questions?
There's no questions, sir.
All right.
Thank you for your input, sir.
All right, so it's on the record.
For Mr. Martin Slip online. All right, next slide, please. Everyone can pull up their bylaws. We're going to try and do this real quick. I know we've reviewed this. There's a few highlights that I want to address real quick. In Article 6, paragraph A, about the regular meetings, we're going to strike the time. That way, in the future, if we wish to just change the time, the date will stay the same, but if we want to change the time, we can arrange that with the departments and not have to go through an amendment. So you'll see it says 1:30 right now, but we're going to strike that.
Joe, do you want a motion for each of these edits?
Sure.
A motion to approve that edit.
Any second?
Second.
All right. Commissioner Cook, second. Okay. Good. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Against? Okay. Okay, paragraph B, instead of saying a simple majority, due to the research by the legal team, it does need to be 6 out of the 10, no matter how many, it doesn't matter how many commissioners are actually appointed, it has to be 6. So we're gonna strike the simple majority and state that 6 of the 10 appointed members must be in attendance for quorum. Do I have a motion?
Move.
Okay, second. All right, seconded by the vice. All in favor?
Aye.
All against? Okay, and then, Commissioner Anderson, did you have something, that you mentioned
Oh,
something?
I was gonna save it for good of the order. It's not a bylaw.
Okay, we'll wait till the, any other concerns or questions regarding the bylaw amendments?
Chair, I see a few updates as well.
Yeah,
Should be amended July 19th, assuming that we adopt that.
yes.
And then
This is at the bottom. So we had sent these out last time.
Okay.
That's the last time we amended it, and now we're amending it again. So at the very bottom where it says, ratify, and then we'll add the current date
in the
and
footnote,
the footnotes, sorry, at the very bottom of each page. So,
and then take it going.
yeah, please.
Article 6, item D. The registration deadline for priority public comment will close at least one day, 24 hours prior to the regular meeting start time in accordance with et cetera.
Yeah.
I would strike at least. So the registration deadline for priority public comment will close one day, 24 hours prior to the regular meeting start time. At least is vague,
Okay.
in my opinion. I mean, happy to discuss that.
Okay. I'll motion to strike at least. We have a second. A second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any against? All right, so we'll strike at least.
And the same would be true for Article 7B, the identical language.
Yes. Yeah, we're supposed to do it. I'll motion to strike the at least from Article 7, paragraph B also.
Second.
And you said, okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All against? Okay, and just a reminder, from last time, one of the primary changes was that once we pass recommendations, under Article 8, paragraph F, the secretary was sent it forward instead of the chair. And also we kind of changed as Commissioner Allman mentioned, that if we do have people present that didn't sign up and we have time remaining, we'll allow public comment from people.
That's fun.
So, any other concerns, questions regarding the bylaws?
One more discussion item, Article 9, in the ratification of any updates, it refers repeatedly to a simple majority. Do we need to change anytime a simple majority to 6 out of 10 members?
The only thing, if I need to, the only thing I would add is that a simple majority, it has to be a minimum of 4. Quorum is established at 6. I think that's the definition.
So you're okay with it? Because I know-
Yes, a simple majority has to be 50% of the voting body. That has to be the quorum. So I'm fine with that. I think the issue here was to establish legally what is a quorum. And so now that it's established, the attorneys now agree, a majority is, or simple majority is basically is more than 5, which is 6.
Okay,
Okay.
just wanted to
Thank
make
sir.
sure.
No. Any other comments?
I just want to say thank you to the chair and really to all of you that, have reviewed and put input into it. And I think this really updated it, and that you're now much more clear.
Great.
Yeah, I want to thank Commissioner Allman for doing this when we started this process when he was chair, and this is the way that we're going to move forward. So you continue to influence the board. All right. Next slide, please. Items for next month's agendas. We've got got from Commissioner, we do have, oh, I'm sorry. So for next month, we do have online, for the Women's Veterans Program, or Commissioner, I think they have to reschedule, but we have them lined up for next one. And we, so far, Commissioner Oil, do you still need you still interested in getting a brief regarding the medical advisory?
Yes, I think it would be prudent to have the local VA representative that oversees, the administrative policies as it relates to care for veterans that require medical devices.
Yeah.
And how these policies have come about where you can't get the replacement if there's a medical recall, because it really denies healthcare to the veterans if we're, kind of, it's a problem.
I don't see to get a point of contact.
I appreciate that.
So I will have to get a point of contact from the VA for the director and Stephanie. Any other additional, Commissioner Plummer, do you want to hear something from DPSS, or is that an issue that we need to delve a little deeper into?
I would like to see what we can do about that.
Okay, if you can help us out, help them out and see if we can get a point of contact, well, let's work on that together.
Thank you.
Any other challenges, any other agenda items for folk to add to this?
Yeah.
Commissioner Anderson?
I would add, if we could get a kind of a full dress briefing from LADMH. MVA. What are their efforts? What are their veteran outreaches? And how does MVA work? Make sure vice versa.
Okay. All right. Commissioner Anderson was talking, he wanted an update on how DMH is working specifically with NBA and how it's changed, how it's evolved. All right, next slide, please. We'll go to the good of the order. And we'll start with District 1, Commissioner Crooks. Anything for the group?
Really, thank you for being here. Thank you all. I'm glad that I'm here. And you got a lot of work done today. And I applaud all.
Thank you, Commissioner Palmero.
Yes, thank you. So I just want to let everybody know I am working with Stepping Stone on the Vet Day LA. I am the chair for the fundraising. So that's going to be interesting. See if I can balance those balls. And then also I wanted to also mention that Mila Solis, Supervisor Solis will be having a Veterans Day ceremony and resource fair. She'll be hosting it at Obregon Park in East LA. So that's in addition to what the parade that we're having. Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Jackson Kelly.
Yes. On Tuesday, the State Department of Labor is recognizing the 75th anniversary of the U.S. Armed Forces. And they are doing a panel discussion on Black veterans and jobs. And I'm one of the panelists. Also, the American Legion baseball is being held at the Jackie Robinson Stadium on the VA grounds on Thursday. We will have the teams here at the stadium. Before then, they're playing in Fairfield, California. But if anyone is able, we really would like for you to come out and support these kids. They're amazing. In the Jackie Robinson was one of the sponsors for the jersey for the kids. So we are looking forward to that. And that's it.
Do we have Commissioner McFadden? Is she online still?
She said nothing for her.
Yeah, there's
Nothing
a
for her?
comment.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Allman?
I would just add that there's been a lot of discussion lately with regard to veteran AMI and how that interacts with eligibility for housing, not only on the West LA VA campus, but elsewhere throughout the community. I think it was here in this building or in this room specifically that VA brought a very detailed analysis of what that actually looks like in Los Angeles. It's a long briefing. It's about an hour, but I will share it with all of you because I think it's very substantive in terms of the analysis and what that actually means for chronically homeless veterans here in LA County who are receiving VA disability compensation. So I think VA deserves credit for, hearing a lot of the media reports that this is an issue and then looking into their data to see, how many veterans is this impacting. I would also note that there's ongoing conversations between VA and HUD on what they're going to do here, and that those discussions continue to happen to this day. I mean, it's an ongoing conversation. So I thought it was relevant considering that there's a state bill that's trying to address the AMI issue, but it's really happening all over the place. So, we built these beautiful buildings at VA West Los Angeles, and now there's difficulty filling them because VA disability compensation sometimes is preventing veterans access, which the paradox there is just insane.
Yes.
So it's gotten a lot of attention, which I think is a good thing. And then secondly, I just want to note something, early on, in my chair role, try to, solidify the bylaws to ensure that we have a basis, a foundation for operating. And then there are other things that I think could help professionalize this body. I realize we're a very small body, but something as simple as a logo. So if you look at the bottom left of these slides right now, we're using the Department of Military and Veteran Affairs logo, but we're not the Department of Military and Veteran Affairs. We stand outside of the Department of Military and Veteran Affairs. And so I've asked a friend of mine to help draft some logos for us to take a look at. And hopefully maybe next meeting, we could set aside some time. If you look at other commissions, probably the most prominent LA County commission is the Civilian Oversight Commission, which oversees the Sheriff's Department. They have a logo. We should have a logo too.
Absolutely.
I agree.
Thank you, Commissioner. I'll go back to me and the vice efforts. Commissioner Gutierrez.
For me, just congratulations to the VPAN SD5 team. On July 14th, they opened a new space. So really, it's a sign of the work that they're doing up there. They outgrew their old space. They had to add 1,000 more square feet to what they're doing up there. It provides space for other organizations to come in and become that one-stop shop for vets seeking services. So congratulations to them and what they're doing up there in SD5. That was it.
Commissioner Anderson?
Yeah, I want to concur with Commissioner Gutierrez that what VPAN's SD5 presence has been in the advance of the guard of things that we all should be doing and helping each other with. I'm very happy about that. I wanted to reframe back just for a minute to the presentation that we had at our previous meeting from the Korean American veterans of the Vietnam War. I took note in the minutes, and I didn't want to hit the parking brake on that because we were trying to keep our meeting moving. It said that their presentation was inaudible, but what their presentation was, and I'd like noted for the record, was they had a fairly simple request. They had a presentation of various identification cards that had been given out by different jurisdictions and agencies that simply stated this is a Korean American who was a veteran of the Vietnam War. And they asked if we would be assisted in that. And I'm not sure what our policy and jurisdiction is, but I'd like us to take a look at it. I was really gratified as soon as they had made their presentation that the Takano legislation came up, because I think like along with the Filipino American guerrillas who helped us in World War II, and insofar as most of these men are American citizens now, that they have a claim to veteran status, having fought alongside the United States in that war. So anything that we can do, if we could help pump out a card that could just be shown at Denny's or LA County parks on Memorial and Veterans Days, if there's something we can do, I'd like to see us maybe do it. And then the other is maybe follow the legislative thread, and if the county could see to backing a position of support for that legislation, I'd like to see that too.
Thank you,
That's-
Commissioner.
That's it.
Vice. I just want to bring up the comment that was made by one of our veterans about the fictional landmark. I am a little vaguely familiar of the process, and I think it would be good for the department to provide us a presentation briefing about what that is, what that process is, and and what does that do, for us. So I think that was important, and I really appreciate too bad that he's left, but I really appreciate the fact that he came forward, brought that to our attention, and this may absolutely qualify, and actually bring some additional resources to the building and to the county, declaring this national.
Thank you, Vice. I concur. I know several of us have discussions with the director regarding that status, so I think it would be great for all commissioners can have a level set understanding of the pros and some of the cons as well. That's all I have. I did my report. So any other comments or questions from the commissioners? All right, thank you for your time. Meeting adjourned. I know. Wait, practice.